Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and good morning to everyone. I'm Dr. Harun Rashid, the country representative of IEEE Power and Energy Society Day 2020 in Malaysia. Welcome to once again IEEE PES Day 2020 webinars. Am I audible to everyone? Someone can just write in the chat box. Am I audible? All right. Okay, Zaid. Thank you very much. Once again, welcome to IEEE PES Day 2020 webinar series. Today we have another interesting webinar with us, and this webinar is in conjunction with IEEE PES Day 2020 in collaboration with IEEE UKM Student Branch and IEEE Power and Energy Society Malaysia Chapter. So our today's topic is Malaysia COVID-19 closed monitoring. And then our speaker today is Dr. Ramizi bin Mohamed. He is the senior lecturer at Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. So I welcome to Dr. Ramizi bin Mohamed, and I welcome to rest of the participants. Before we proceed further, I will just make an announcement once again that if your microphone is unmuted once you enter, please keep it mute throughout the webinar, unless otherwise the speaker asks you to speak. Okay, I will give a little bit introduction of Dr. Ramizi before I hand over to him. Dr. Ramizi bin Mohamed is a senior lecturer in the Department of Electrical, Electronic and Systems Engineering at Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment of Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. In short, UKM, or in English, the National University of Malaysia. He holds a Bachelor of Engineering from the renowned University of Salford from Manchester. He received his Masters of Science from University Kebangsaan Malaysia and later graduated from Southampton University with a PhD. In his years of lecturing experience, he specializes in power engineering, instrumentation, and energy harvesting. Some of his main research interests are transformer condition monitoring, solar hybrid energy harvesting, and piezoelectric energy harvester. He is also professionally affiliated with organizations including Board of Engineers Malaysia, IEEE Malaysia, Power System Planning, Operation and Studies, etc. Some of his selected research publications are an optimization of rectangular shape piezoelectric energy harvesting cantilever beam for micro devices, which was published in International Journal of Applied Electromagnetics and Mechanics. Another one, vibration and acoustic emission signal monitoring for detection of induction motor bearing fault, which was published in International Journal of Engineering, Research and Technology. With this, I welcome Dr. Ramizi. Now, I hand over the microphone to Dr. Ramizi to continue with his wonderful topic for us, and I will go on mute. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Harun Rashid, and thank you, Dr. Nahana, for hosting the talk today. First of all, I would like to apologize because I could not open the chat column. I couldn't find the icon somewhere here. If someone would like to interrupt or probably someone would like to ask me a question, you just unmute and probably ask question regarding the topic.
Dr.
I think
Ramizi,
that will. Yes, yes.
Sorry for interruption. Dr. Ramizi, when you are in full screen, you won't be able to see the chat box. So I suggest probably you continue with your presentation, and at the end, whosoever have a question, they can write in the chat box, and at the end, we will go for Q&A session. That's my opinion.
All right.
Thank
you. All right. Okay. Thank you. And I think I would like to mengucapkan selamat menyambut Ramadan. I believe we can conduct this session both in English and in Malay, but I think I would prefer the session in English. So the topic for today is Malaysia COVID-19 close monitoring. The date is 28 April 2020. Probably you guys wondering why am I presenting this particular topic. I'm supposed to present something related to power and energy because that would be my field. Well, the short story would be the short story and the short history would be it started when we started our MCO, our PKP. That was in 18th of April. That was the first day when the first day of the PKP, and we are now in the third PKP, third MCO, and going towards the fourth MCO. So I started the investigation, the research during the first day of the PKP on 18th of March 2020. So based on the objective that I would like to see how far this thing goes, and then I invited my one of my good friend, Dr. Zulkifli Muhammad Novia. I think I already invited him here. I believe he's gonna join us soon. So Dr. Zulkifli Muhammad Novia is one of the collaborator in this particular project. And then a week after that, we joined the research team from HCTM, a COVID-19 research group in HCTM Hospital, Chancellor Tunku Mokris, our hospital, HUKM in Cheras. The leader, the research leader is the dean himself, Professor Dr. Raja Effendi bin Raja Ali. So that was the motivation of the research work. So we developed the project beginning from zero basis, and then we studied about probably around 2 to 3 weeks on how this thing goes, and then we got the result by the second week, and we start monitoring closely the COVID-19 outbreak of the pandemic, especially in Malaysia, and we share the data to KKM, and we share the data to the hospital for those who needs the for the data. All right. Okay, the short introduction. All right. I believe most of you have heard about this particular model. The model is called SIR or SEIR. This is what we call a compartmental model. It was developed originally for influenza in 1918. And 1918, whereby they had a very mass pandemic influenza. They call it a Spanish flu in 1918 until 1923, if I'm not mistaken, during the First World War. And then the S stands for susceptible, exposed, and infectious, and R stands for remove. Some other literatures, referred R as remove. Some others referred R as recovery, and some others are referred as resistant, but they are all almost quite the same. Remove stands for those who are free from the infected disease, especially in this COVID-19. Resistance stands for those who have an immunization or vaccination after the first infection, and the other one is the recovery. The recovery is the rate of recovery lah, the people who recovered from the disease itself. All right. So we developed the model based on the Kulin et al. In 2020 and Kulin and he et al. 2013. The Kulin et al. He developed the model based on SEIR, susceptible, exposed, infectious, and remove. And he did actually develop based on the work done by he et al. So it was originally developed for influenza Spanish flu in 1918. So the developed model used 3 control parameters, which earlier known as government control strategy, early detection strategy, and public response. I'm going to explain on that one probably later. All right. I believe most of you probably would like to see this this figure, and probably some of you don't like to see this kind of figure. So this is the compartmental model. The top one, the blue color is susceptible, is the number of people who, what is susceptible is the number of people who can get infected, who can get infected. And then we goes under the exposed, which is once the people with the suspected of an infection, they have to undergo the 14 days period of quarantine. So we put them under exposed, and then once they have run or undergo this RT-PCR test, RT-PCR test, it will take probably around several hours to 2 days to get the actual result. So the report will goes under the infectious, and after they have recovered, they goes under the remove compartment. So the remove compartment consists of two compartments. One is the people who recovered, and another one is the deaths. So the down there are there are four main equations that involve in the compartmental model. We do have the transmission rate, beta T, the susceptible belongs to the compartment of the blue compartment. The infectious belongs to the red compartment. The recovered, sorry, the infectious I belong to the red compartment. The E belongs to the orange the compartment, and the R belong to the remove compartment. Okay. Okay, of course, for any particular model or any types of model, we made several assumptions. Okay, we made several assumptions. So the assumption would be, the main assumption would be there is no zoonotic cases. Okay, there is no zoonotic cases. What is zoonotic cases? Zoonotic cases is any case where the source of infections coming from the animals. So this is where the claim by the China government, when they start close down the Wuhan market, where, if I'm not mistaken, they've got at least 40 to 50 cases of zoonotic cases. This is what based on their claims. So and then the outbreak starts from there. Okay, that is the zoonotic cases. And the second assumption would be there is no immigration rate. Means the model only consider very minor immigration. Immigration means people going out in and out from specific places. Yeah. So in our case, our immigration rate is almost zero. That means because it is under consideration that the model is considered under the specific MCO. Okay, and then the second would be the behavior of the outbreak is similar to China, because the outbreak started from China. So the pattern of the outbreak can also be adapted to any other country. And then the third would be the strategy of the modeling and the strategy of the parameter estimation for the Malaysia COVID-19 outbreak. So we developed the model from the four equations that I've just shown earlier, and then we use the nonlinear least square technique based on Lavenberg-Marquardt regression technique to get the parameter from China and try to suit that parameter China and do the forecast or the projection for Malaysian COVID-19 outbreak. All right. So the estimation of the curve projection is based on the current infected numbers. Yeah, based on the current infected numbers, and there are two actually: current infected numbers and current newly infected numbers. Okay, the current infected numbers is the people who are now under treatment, people who have already positive COVID-19 and they are undergo treatment. Okay, the newly infected numbers is the daily infected numbers. Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, now the daily infected numbers is around below 100. Yeah? But the current infected numbers is the people who are under quarantine at hospitals, people who undergo the treatment is about, probably if I'm not mistaken, about 3,000 or 2,000 and plus currently. Okay. And the objective of the projection is to estimate the possible number of active cases, the reproduction number. Okay, the reproduction number. I believe this is the number that very important, especially for KKM, especially for doctors, yeah, especially for those who doing the thorough research for this particular period. The R naught is what we call the reproduction number. It is the number, actually, the number of a single infected person who can transmit the virus to any other person. Yeah, let's say if someone get infected, he could transmit the virus to another 3%. Yeah, so the R naught would be 3. Yeah, the R naught would be 3. So the target of our PKP, or the target of our MCO, is to get the reproduction number below 1. Below 1. That would be very, very necessary. That would be very, very important. If I'm mistaken, if you guys try to look through in some of the YouTube, the daily press conference by the DJ, Dr. Siapa namanya tu? Dr. Norisham, yeah. He did mention in somewhere in the middle of the PKP, in the middle of the MCO, he did close monitor the R naught, because the R naught will determine whether we can control the outbreak or not. Okay, so the parameter will be, if R naught less than 1, we know that the strategy does work. If R naught is greater than 1 and prolonged to be greater than 1, that means there have to be somewhere or something wrong with the strategy. Okay, so that's why we need to monitor R naught very closely. Okay, and the second part will be under the model would be, we introduce the beta T, where beta T is the step function, because this is the problem. The model is based on first order linear differential equation. It is a kind of a dynamic model. So at any time the data will fluctuate. At any time the data may change, because we are dealing with the virus, we are dealing with people, we are dealing with the outbreak. Okay, so at any time the data can change. So that's why we need to insert a step function, where if any changes along the time, so we can actually predict and try to forecast for the next several days of projection, or several days of the COVID-19 trajectory. For those who do not know what is a step function is actually, in terms of from the mathematical point of view, is any interruption that can be inserted within any period. Yeah? So any interruption that can be inserted within any period, so that the curve would change. Okay. So this is the equation of the step function. I believe I'm gonna skip this, unless for those who like to ask, and I can answer that one probably later. All right. Okay. A brief introduction on the step function. We did actually introduce 3 parameters. Yeah. One is the parameter strategy, which is alpha there. The parameter strategy for the strategy conducted by the government under the MCO, and we do have the theta there, the parameter strategy for early detection of COVID-19 virus, and we do have the K. Yeah, we do have the K. K is belong to us, which means belong to the positive public response and positive public reaction towards the MCO. Yeah, towards the MCO. Okay, so we need to incorporate all these parameters within the SEIR model itself. All right. Once we develop the 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 model, then we can start with the new projection. So on 22nd of March, we did our first projection. Yeah, we did our first projection, and we did introduce the step function. Yeah, on 22nd of March to see how the outbreak will goes. Yeah, how long the outbreak will prolong, and we need to see what will be the peak value of the current infected people. So on 22nd of March, we did a full projection, yeah, and we estimated that the peak number of current infected people is around 3,700 people, yeah, 3,700 people. So you can see from the slide presentation there, the peak is somewhere close to 4th of April or 5th of April, yeah, and that is actually in line with the projection made by other two institute. One is JP Morgan, and other one is the Malaysian Institute of Economic Research. Yeah, Malaysian Institute of Economic Research. They make an earlier projection. If I'm not mistaken, they come up with total number of projections around 8,000 to 7,000 to 8,000 number of infected people at one time. Okay, and JP Morgan earlier they predicted that around 6,700, yeah, 6,000 plus or 6,700 or 6,500 if I'm not mistaken, the peak current infections, and the end of the outbreak is somewhere in June. Yeah, somewhere in June. But I think if you did remember that the MCO, when they started the MCO, when our government started the MCO, we start the MCO within 2 weeks. Yeah, at 18th of we started on 18th of April, and by 31st of March, started on 18th of March, and then end the first MCO by 31st of March, and then started the second MCO on 1st of April, and end the second MCO on the 14th of April. So our target would be, I believe this is what the forecast made by the Kementerian Kesihatan, our KKM. The first the target for the R naught to reach below than 1 is somewhere between the MCO1 and MCO2. So that will be the case that will be the same case that with the result that we come out, whereby the estimated R naught to be less than 1 is between the mid-April to between the early April to mid-April of 2020. That is between the MCO1 and between the MCO2. So our projection is actually in line with the projection made by the government. And then we make a second projection because we need to monitor the data daily. Yeah, we need to monitor the data daily. Okay, there are two sources of data I've got from Kementerian Kesihatan itself, the portal of COVID-19 from the Kementerian Kesihatan portal, and I also got the data from the Worldometer coronavirus. Yeah, Worldometer coronavirus. I believe you can just Google Worldometer coronavirus. They can give you every data that you need. Yeah, every data that you need for all the countries affected. Yeah, the pandemic that the currently occur all around the world. And the most country that currently affected is USA lah. USA, of course, the top ranking now, and even the top ranking on deaths is New York, if I'm not mistaken. Currently, there is one case they have around, if I'm not mistaken, about 14,000 deaths daily, yeah, at one time. So now the top country rank was is actually America, USA. Italy, if I'm not mistaken, I think you can just Google. It goes down probably 4th to 5th rank. Yeah, 4th to 5th rank. And Malaysia is ranked quite far, somewhere in the middle. But now Singapore is leading us. Singapore, they have around 7,000 active cases. Yeah. All right. On the 22nd of March, we did our second projection, and we monitor closely. Yeah, we monitor closely the R0, and we found out that the R0 is somewhere around 2.37. That means during that time, we estimated that the R0, one single infected person can transmit the virus to 2.37%. To 2.37%. And then we monitor the data closely. If you could see, the blue line is our projection. Yeah, we do the curve fitting from we started the curve fitting from 15th of February, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, yeah. We started the curve fitting from 15th of February until 26th of March. And then we make a projection by applying a new step function from 26th of March to 14th of April. Why 14th of April? Because the 14th of April is the end of the second MCO. Yeah, because that's why we need to see what will be the actual cases versus the projection. So the actual cases is the red color. So the projection is the blue color. So here we could see that the projection is quite close to the projection. Yeah. I believe there is one point that I would like to emphasize here. When there are two things that you need to consider. If you are a mathematician, you're probably gonna see a different point of different angle. But if you are doctors, you probably, or if you are as a layman, probably you're gonna see a different level point of view. Okay. If you are as a mathematician, you're gonna say that why the red line does not follow closely to the blue line. Yeah. But because the purpose of curve fitting is to have a very close match on the predicted with the actual data. Yeah. But we are dealing with the current, we are dealing with forecast, we are dealing with projection, and we are dealing with outbreak. So the purpose of the study is, especially for those who are involving at the front line, they have to make sure that the red line must go far below down the blue line. Yeah, the projection, the actual number or the actual case must be far below the blue line. That would be the target. Yeah. So if you are as a mathematician, you're gonna say that, oh, your data is not that good. No, it's not that case in this particular research. That is not that case in this particular project. Curve fitting only applicable if you have a completed curve. That's why we do our first project, our first fitting using the Labumbat Marquardt is starting from 15th of February until 26th of March. And then we make another projection based on the fitted data and based on the parameter that we got from the China to forecast for another several 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah. So on the 22nd and 26th of March, we found out that the R0 is still 2.37. So still far below than 1. And then by 5th of April, we noticed that the 5th of April, we noticed that the data goes down slightly. And the data goes down slightly. That means we need to reproject the data because we need to close the data.
Ramizi,
Yes.
sorry, I interrupt you. Okay. Can you just explain the y-axis is it number of case or number of person infected?
Mm-hmm.
The y-axis, please. What's
The
the?
y-axis is the number of currently infected with the number of the people who undergoes treatment. It's not the newly infected data daily. No.
Okay.
Mm.
So it's a new number of person infected by day.
No, not by day. This is the person who undergo treatment. Active cases.
Active cases by the date, right? Because your x-axis is the date,
Yes.
day by day.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. And because I have to leave the meeting early. And your chart is projection.
Mm-hmm.
But you, I just want to ask, just wondering why the projection is the blue dot, right? The blue dot and the blue graph, right? The blue line.
Correct.
And then what's the purpose of giving the red? Is it for a comparison, or because your chart is projection? So it's not projection now. It's projection plus actual cases.
Yes, correct.
So so the main purpose is you want to explain about projection solely, or you want to compare between the projection and the actual cases. So what's the purpose of you having also the red line there?
Okay, if you look at this, I believe the current view that the current slide that I'm viewing now. Okay, we make the projection on 26th of March. Okay? We made the projection on 36th of March, and then we monitor the data closely, and then we plot the actual data versus the projection. So the actual data follows closely to the projection. So
okay.
in that case, what would be the R0?
Okay, so actually what you want to tell us is now you are not only presenting your projection, you are comparing projection with the actual data, the actual result, maybe to show that your model is good, right?
I'm not saying my model is good, because other people are doing probably exactly the same, and other people are doing the same model.
Okay. Congratulations, because I think you kill two birds with one stone here, because you give your projection and also your actual cases. So then, so the viewer can have their own conclusion on that. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Ramizi, I have to leave the meeting early. I'm Nazri from UPSI.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Actually, can we have, can you share the slide after the meeting?
I can, but okay, not in this not in this particular nearest future, because we are still writing the journal.
Okay.
Because I'm sharing data with the hospital, so I need to get.
Good luck. Okay, thank you very
much. sorry.
Okay, good luck. Thank you very much.
Inshallah, in the future will be.
Yeah. I think we keep in touch, because I have to leave the meeting early. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nazri. Okay, let me continue. Okay, on the 5th of April, we make a new projection, because we found out that the data of the red line is going slightly downwards and far below the blue line. So that's why we need a new projection. We need to have a close monitoring to the current projection on that particular date. So again, we make a new projection for the next several days up to 14th of April, and we found out that on 5th of April, we are quite close to 1. The R0 is quite close to 1.12. Yeah, 1.12. And then, based on the projection on 5th of April, we try to see what would be the progress. Yeah? We try to see what would be the progress. So we find out that on 6th of April, 7th of April, and 8th of April, and even 9th of April, the projection remain intact. Yeah, the projection remain intact. I think either the blue line follow the red line or the red line follow the blue line. I do not know. But what the projection says that they are in agreement to each other, and we found that the current projection based on 9th of April, the R naught or the reproduction number is 1.03. Yeah, 1.03. So that means we know that the strategy made by the government under the MCO, the early detection and the response by the public from the rakyat, the positive response and the positive reaction from the public, it shows a very good or positive result at this particular case. And you got to remember that earlier I did show the peak number is around probably the peak date will be around 5th April and 4th April. So we are the 5th April and 4th April is actually the peak current number of infected cases. Yeah. So we are now at the current number of infected cases. And then we also make a comparison. Yeah. We also make a comparison with MEA. Earlier I did mention that JP Morgan also make a projection based on projection. I believe they have also quite similar type of model, but they undisclosed all the numbers. The only institute that disclose the numbers and share to for the public viewing is Malaysian Institute of Economic Research. Yeah, Malaysian Institute of Economic Research. So this plot is to show that both MEA and UKM under the COVID-19 research group from HCTM are in agreement to each other. Yeah. However, our earlier curve showed that our earlier reduction based on the current daily, this is actually based on daily infected numbers. Yeah, this is based on daily infected numbers. So our projection based on daily infected numbers shows that we start to go down on 29th of March 2020. Yeah, 29th of March 2020. All right. So remember that the slide here. Okay, this is the slide whereby we make a close monitoring from 5th of April to 9th of April, and then we need to see what will be the progress next. And then we found out that from 9th of April until 14th of April, on the top left here, the top square left, so the early estimation on 5th to 14th April, it shows that the red line goes down quite far from the blue line. So that will be I believe that will be the strategy done by our government. So as I mentioned earlier, the strategy here is to make sure that the red line is far below than the blue line. Yeah, it's far below than the blue line. So in that case, if red line far below than the blue line, we need to make a new projection. Then we can estimate the number of reproduction, the reproduction number. So on 14th of April, yeah, we make a new projection, and until the 21st of April, I think that will be the end of the second MCO or the third MCO. Yeah. So our findings was 0.84. Yeah, and we expect that we targeted that R naught on 31st of April is around 0.6 if the trajectory goes along with the line. Yeah, so it's so we are actually in a positive trajectory lah. And then we also make a comparison on the same date with MEA. All right. So once we manage to get a close approximation of R0, we also can get a full projection for the full trajectory. Yeah. So based on 14th of April, we make a full trajectory or full probable projection. So this full projection is based on several assumptions. It is based on the best and worst possible gradient at the peak. At the peak means starting from the 4th of April, 5th, and until 9 lah, until 9 of April. So we try to find the worst gradient and the best gradient. So the best gradient will be the less number of R0 lah. The worst gradient will be the highest number of R0. So we make the blue line is the best trajectory, the green line is the worst trajectory, and the one in the middle is the intermediary, the mean lah. And the one in the middle is the mean. Okay, so again, this is based on the probable full trajectory or trajectory. So there are several assumptions that you have to make. Yeah. So the assumption will be the line's trajectory will be possible under the current control on MCO and positive public response and reaction towards the order. Yeah. That under the control MCO, under positive and reaction from the public, this probable projection will be the projection will be possible. Yeah. Otherwise, it will be interrupted. Otherwise, it will be disrupted. Let's say the MCO is retracted, then the projection will be different. Yeah. So we need to stay at home and keep social distance and obey the MCO. All right. So next will be earlier. Let me show you again the equation of beta T. Okay. So this is the equation of beta T. There are three parameters that we try to indicate here. The parameter alpha is the government strength on the MCO. The theta is the early detection, and K is the public positive response. So the alpha and K, they are coherent to each other, the alpha and K, because if alpha is greater, that means K also greater. But it's quite different from the theta. Theta is where we need to see the early detection strategy. Okay, the early detection strategy is actually motivated based on the data from China. If I'm not mistaken, there are several news that you can find in the website, even in the WHO report, official report on February 2020. On 14th of February, there is a huge number of increment of daily infected. On the number of active cases. On the number of active cases, about around 14 to 15,000 number of active cases between 13th of February until 13th of February and 14th of February. Just one single day, the number of active cases is increased up to 15,000. So when we did check with the news, why the number abrupt or such in that particular manner, we found out that China has employed a new technique. This is what they claim now, but of course other people claim that China lies in terms of the number of infected people. China, they don't actually they undisclose the actual number, but from the report made by the WHO and the news that we got, China did employ a rapid test whereby they use a kind of CT scan, yeah, to check for the lung, regarding the infection of the COVID-19 virus. So these particular numbers it's actually shocked the world how in the first place, because at first they used the RT-PCR, which is the normal technique to check for the positive COVID-19. But then China employed new technique, the fast technique. They could get the result in an instant during the same day, whereby they use this CT scan to check for the lung infection. Yeah, but of course, probably the number would be would be questionable. But that would be the case. That would be the actual news lah that we got from WHO. So we try to come up with a solution with the modern. So that's why we come up with the early detection ratio that would be equals to 1/theta. So before the rapid detection, from 22nd of January, for the China data, yeah, from the figure that you can see now, from the China data from 22nd of January until 13th of February. Yeah, so the ER is somewhere 2.6, yeah, estimation before the rapid test. But after the rapid test, we found that ER equals to 50.2. Okay, so what would be the significant to us? Okay, I'm going to explain that one later. So this would be the significant. I think if you did remember, we have our first MCO on 18th of March until 31st of March 2020. And then we do have our second MCO on 1st of April until 14th of April. The second MCO, also known as EMCO. Yeah, the second MCO, also known as EMCO. What is E? E is Enhanced Movement Control Order. Enhanced Movement Control Order. So under the Enhanced Movement Control Order, we could see that the ER, yeah, we made based on the projection of 5th of April and 14th of April, we could see that ER is slightly higher than the first two ER. Yeah, we got 11.3 and we got 9.93. Then when we checked the news, we found out that under the EMCO, under the Malaysian government, especially particularly the KKM, Kementerian Kesihatan, they made an active screening. They made an active screening. They make the red, or what they call the zoning, the red zoning, and they call the red zone, yellow zone, green zone, if I'm not mistaken, under the EMCO. I think you could find the news on the EMCO from the Wikipedia or any local news. Yeah. So that would be the significance of ER. Yeah, that would be the significance of ER. And then we also make a full projection again. So once we manage to get full projection, I believe we are on the right track. Malaysia under the EMCO of MCO2 goes under the MCO3. We are on the right track. So up to, I believe this is on 19th of April, we are between the worst and the worst and the best case. This is the latest projection I made. Actually, not yesterday, but on 26th of April. You got to remember that I've got the data from Worldometer Coronavirus. So the Worldometer Coronavirus is actually 1 day late from the actual number of projection. Yeah, 1 day late. So I made a projection on 26th of March. So, sorry, on 26th of April. So the data is based on 25th of April. So we are still in the right projection, which is somewhere in the middle. So the active cases was somehow rather around 1,882. Yeah, 1,882 on 25th of March. And this is the projection number on 25th of April. Based on the current projection, we know that we are on the right track. that the current projection number is between 0.4 and 0.54. So we are now moving towards MCO4, and hopefully under this current MCO, with the positive response from the public, stay at home, practice social distance, and do whatever self hygienes and obey the rules, and hoping that we are in good trajectory. So the summary and conclusion. So the estimated projection shows reducing number of R0. So the probable projection with SEIR model can be achieved with several conditions. So the condition would be the government enforcement on MCO and probably other measures, early detection and isolation strategy, and the third would be the cooperation among us towards the first and the second MCO and the all the strategy made by the Kementerian Kesihatan. And all of the above will only be met with prayers, dua from us, and inshallah may Allah give us and bring back, give us the happiness and bring back the happiness to us all. And I think that will be the end of my presentation, and I would like to open for any question from public. Okay, Dr. Harun, I believe I've already, yeah. Dr. Harun, sorry, I cannot read the chat column here. So I believe for those who would like to ask me a question, can just unmute the microphone and ask through the through the system here.
Hello, my name is Aznan. Hello.
Yes, silakan.
Can you hear me?
Yes, silakan Aznan.
Yes. Well, I'm not a researcher. I'm from Tenaga National. So
Yes.
very interested in your talk. Okay, congratulations for the data that you have seen and the modeling that you have done. What I've seen is the SIR model. Yes, I have seen, but the beta function is something that I saw for the first time. The beta function. So the beta function you introduced and the beta I think you introduced by way of modeling the MCOs. Is that correct? I mean the SIR before the normal SIR. Sorry, forgive me because I'm not familiar with modeling SIR. First time in these 2 weeks that I looked into SIR, I haven't seen the beta function before. So now you showed a beta function, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the way that, which is completely novel here, or maybe you have taken the later modeling of SIR, is to actually model, to update the beta function every time the MCO has been imposed. Is that correct?
Yes and no.
Okay. Go on.
All right. Okay. Let me answer that question. The no is actually it's not actually a novel. I modified from the two paper that I showed earlier. From the two paper, actually a modification lah. A modification. I'm not actually developed
New.
beta totally new, but a modification based on the current situation. Yeah, because the modification because the two paper earlier, they made a model based on the influenza and the early outbreak of COVID-19. The early outbreak of COVID-19, but they don't actually consider the rapid test. They don't actually consider the strategy done by the government. So because that's why the title of the presentation today is the close monitoring. We need to see what will be the government, what is the government doing, and what will be the effect towards the data, and we see what will be the close projection towards the from the modeling. So that will be the no question lah. The yes is actually incorporated within the data is actually incorporated within the SEIR model lah. Yeah. So in that particular case, yes, it is actually incorporated within the SEIR model that we need to run concurrently, and we need to extract the parameter, the three parameter, in order to see whether the strategy made by the government correct or not. Is that answering your question?
Yes, on the first one, I just want to understand, because the beta function is the first time I've seen it, the beta function, and the way you estimate the beta function every time MCOs are imposed, right? I mean the changes in alpha, beta, and the other. I mean there are four. I think the other one is K or something, and there are four parameters in the table that you estimated every time the MCO has been imposed. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay, actually, there are, actually, I didn't actually show on the effect of alpha and K. I did the simulation on alpha and K. What would happen if alpha is negative? What would happen if K is far below than the targeted value? So the alpha, if alpha is negative, the projection of the trajectory will be much higher lah. Will be much higher. That data I didn't include here because the data has been presented by the other two paper. So you can see the effect of the alpha and K from the other two paper. I also make the same projection with the same results, but the only things that they don't have is the theta, which is the early detection strategy. So the effect of alpha will be if alpha less than 0 or negative value, the projection will be higher. That means it is out of control lah. Similar to K, if K is less than the specified value, the projection will be out of control. That will be more than the worst case lah.
Thank you. Can you share?
Hi, Dr. Ramizi.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, my name is Kamal. Okay. I just had one question. Does your projection also consider the numbers of tests performed per day, as well as the numbers of positive cases over the numbers of tests performed per day? Thank you.
Okay, number of infected case per day. I did actually. Let me show you again. Let me show you again. I did actually. I made a comparison with MIA, Malaysian Institute of Economic Research. So this is the number of projection per day. Yeah, number of projection per day. The green one is from the MIA, and the blue line is from UKM, from ours. Yeah, and the red line is the actual number of infected cases daily. Yeah, we made several projection. So this projection is based on 23rd of March until 9th of April. And then we made from 23rd of March until 12th of April. And then we make a comparison again. But then after 13th of April, if I'm not mistaken, MEL stops doing the projection. Yeah, they stop until 12th of April. Excuse me. They stop until 12th of April or probably 13th of April. But then we still going, but we still continue with the projection lah. But MEL stops, and I do not know why they stop. Probably they try to make a new projection based on the current situation. So that would be the answer to the question.
Yes, and no. Yes, in a way, okay. What I'm trying to tell basically is that the numbers of tests that we are doing currently in Malaysia is not even more than 1% over the total population. I think around
yes. Oh, okay.
Okay. Compared to Australia or any other country like Singapore, they are doing between 1 to 1.5%. The numbers of samples they're taking over the population.
Okay.
So I'm not sure whether this has any factor into the projection either by DPM or MIR or even the actual cases. We look at our country, our neighboring country, Singapore. We never know that we actually can have over 1,000, or sometimes 2,000 kids per day of the numbers of tests they perform over the actual positive cases. So we need to know what kind of projection in Singapore, for example, whether the SIR can actually be concluded, because Malaysia and Singapore, basically in terms of the demographical and the population, the public behavior are almost very identical, not much different basically. But why the projection, the way that the graph is moving dynamically now is totally unbelievable. Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, that's correct. I agree. I totally agree with you. Mr. Kamal, ya? Siapa nama tadi?
Yeah, Kamal. Yeah, you can call me Zio.
I totally agree with you. Actually, there are several news. There are several reports. Okay, let me show you one article here. Let me try to open the article first. Can you give me half a minute? I need to. Okay, the article that I'm about to show you is the report from the WHO. It's a joint report, WHO and China, on February. I cannot remember the exact date. Okay. The report is 16 to 24 February. It's a joint report by the WHO and the government of China. Right. This is the figure that I would like to show to you. The blue color is the onset symptom case. The blue color is the onset symptom case. The red color is the reported case, which is the actual case that reported and put under the database, put under the within the they make the report lah, the actual report or the official report. But based on the official report, they make a questionnaire to the patients that the onset symptom was actually 5 to 10 days before the actual report, before the official report. This is the case that we do not have here in Malaysia. That's the problem. The model that we come up is based on the red color, based on the actual report. We could actually predict the numbers of the onset symptom based on the assumption, but we do not have the actual data as the data that have done by the WHO here. So if we see from the figure here, the actual cases on the or the actual report or the official report on the red color there, that was actually, it was quite late. Yeah, it was quite late. That is why here in the modeling that we developed, the model that we developed, it suggests that if the Malaysian government or any other government, they could come up with a rapid test technique, an earlier detection technique. That's why we only we could only get an indicator, but not the real measure. An indicator, the E that I've just shown to you, that under the EMCO, that is an indicator that the early detection made the government has taken into effect. Yeah, but not the real measure. That's the problem, because we do not have the data. So if the Malaysian government, they can come up with this particular figure, I believe we could do the same thing. So thanks for the comment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramizi. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Bye.
Dr. Ramizi?
Yes.
Yes. First of all, I would say thank you very much for doing the webinar. I'm Farastaki. I would like to ask a question directly, but before I ask, I would like to say that I'm not really familiar with the mathematical model. So that's why I would like to take the opportunity to understand more about the model, the SEIR itself. So my question is, in case of the R, that is for the removed cases, right?
Yes. Continue.
Yeah. So remove could be death, or could be immune, or could be recovered, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, but is that possible for someone, for example, asymptomatic people, or even recovered people from the COVID-19? They could still spread the virus. So how does that go with the mathematical model?
Yes. The mathematical model will change. It will change. In that case, we need to modify the SEIR into SEIRS. S is susceptible, and then the recovered people, we need to get them back into the susceptible compartment again. I did actually run the simulation, but because the number of recovered people, the ratio of number of recovered people compared to the total population is very much low, so the result is almost quite the same. But yes, you are correct. The mathematical model would change, the compartmental model would change, and the result would change slightly. So because the reinfected people, the recovered people can get infected again, so they have to go under the susceptible compartment. So yes, the model will change.
Yeah, so doctor, from your answer, what I understand is that there is actually another model. It's called SEIRS, but the result is not very different from the SEIR itself. So in that case, in this particular case, the two are very similar. So it's not very big difference.
Almost similar, because why is it almost similar? Because this is based on my findings and our assumption. Because the rate of this is the case in Malaysia probably, the rate of recovery compared to the total number of our total population is 33 million, 30 million and above. 30 million and above our population, and the rate of recovery is very much low. It probably is about 0.0001% compared to the number of total population. Because when the total recovered people goes back under the susceptible, the ratio is very much low. So it's very less significant. Yeah. So that will be the case lah.
Thank you very much, doctor, for the answer.
All right. Okay.
Is there any more questions from the floor?
Okay. I also like to add here, since because our data based on the reported cases, or official case reported by the government or from the Worldometer coronavirus. So at this time of moment, we do not have the exact number, or we do not have the numbers for those who have recovered and get infected again, or that is what we call a secondary infection. We do not have the data for the secondary infection. So we can just make an assumption that this the first infection, the people who has the infection can get infected again. That would be the assumption, because so far there is no immunization, so far there is no vaccination. So the recovered people could get infected again, except the death one lah. Of course, the death one they is out of the topic, out of discussion in this particular model. So there is no data or statistic mention the rate of recovered people who get infected again. So it's quite difficult to model.
So if there are no more questions, I would like to conclude today's webinar. Before I conclude, I would like to say thank you very much to our speaker today, Dr. Ramizi bin Mohamed, on his update on close monitoring on COVID-19 in Malaysia, and his team who is working with him along from UKM and HUKM. Also, I would like to say thank you to IEEE UKM student branch for organizing this webinar in collaboration with IEEE PES Malaysia Chapter. If you have any more questions, you may directly contact Dr. Ramizi. His contact details, probably I think you can easily Google and you can get to him. If you have anything else, you still can ask now, or otherwise I'm going to conclude this webinar. Maybe.
Hello.
Yes, silakan.
Okay, I'm Dodi Ismoyo. On your slide, forecast results, early estimation at 22nd of March 2020. We're talking about the infection rate, the R. It goes on 15th of February, it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, and it peaks at 4, the plateau. Then it goes down as MCO has been applied. And then, like you said, how effective the MCO is when we get the infection rate goes below 1. Then I think it's safe to let the MCO being lifted. But then, as the MCO is being lifted and people go out and socialize again, then I guess it will go back to square one, as if like it would be another early February again. And then the infected people will raise again. So the question is how to maintain after the MCO being lifted, but to always maintain the infection rate stays at maximum 1 or below.
I think the answer will be quite simple. You have to obey the MCO. You have to practice the social distance, and then you have to practice the safe hygiene. So that will be the case lah. Because I do not know what will happen actually. That's why the topic here is the probable full projection. So at any time, the projection can be disrupted. That's why we introduced this particular beta function in order to estimate what will be the next projection based on at current time, based on the current situation, so that we could actually measure and indicate how bad is the situation. So in that case, in order for us to maintain the projection, yes, we need to maintain the MCO probably up until June, and we need to maintain the all those practices that we have done under the MCO, and we need to get a support from the government under the MCO and also the public. Of course, we have to obey the government under the MCO lah. We got to remember that we have to remember that the R0 will not easily get 0. That will be very, very difficult based on, there are several journals. I've already read 1 or 2 if I'm not mistaken. This COVID-19 could actually re-emerge under the secondary and the third wave, or probably the fourth, until 2022. So that would be the case if the government lifted the MCO. That will be the case if we are not practicing the social distancing. That will be the case if we are not practicing all the safe hygiene techniques, washing hands by using the sanitizer, whatever things that you've done, whatever thing that you have practiced. So that will be the case. But in actual case, we do not know what is going to happen. We only be able to make a projection based on the current situation under the control MCO. So other news have said, okay, the other news that in Hokkaido, if I'm not mistaken, last week, if I'm not mistaken, Hokkaido was actually one of the regions in the world that have already completed the first wave within the region itself, within the Hokkaido itself. But then they are already come up with the second wave because they have lifted the lockdown. Hokkaido. The news was last 2 weeks or last week, if I'm not mistaken. So we got to remember that we need to maintain the current MCO because R0 is not easily to get zero. Under 1 point, under 1, it is maintainable, but it is up to the government, it is up to the Kementerian Kesehatan on what level would be the level that we can lift the MCO. So in that case, I do not know. Okay.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ramizi. With this, here we come to the conclusion of this webinar. On behalf of IEEE PES Malaysia Chapter, IEEE PES Day Malaysia team, and UKM student branch, I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. Ramizi bin Mohamed, and the participants for being with us for almost 1 hour session. Just as a conclusive remark, I will quote Dr. Ramizi once again that just take care of yourself, follow MCO, maintain the hygiene, and just stay at home and stay safe. So with this, I will see you in the next webinar in the afternoon. For now, please take care of yourself and stay home, stay safe wherever you are. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
And thank you, everyone. And thanks to my sister. I believe she's here. And Rezeki, if I'm mistaken, I believe she's here also.